and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. My name is Joe Lodmell. I'm the moderator for tonight, and assisting is Tom Canning, who will be timekeeper and video recording. Okay, I'd also like to acknowledge Camden Boats for making these forums happen. There's a lot of work goes into that. Tonight's forum is for the election of St. Mary's City Council post number 5. Candidates are Alan Rassi, Christine Adamow, and Nick Harris. Please join me in an applause thanking the PSA staff for accommodating our needs and setting up for tonight's forum. Okay, for your information, restrooms are out the door to the back of the room and to the right. To minimize distractions, interruptions, please turn off your cell phones. If you do need to make or take a call, please step outside. During the forum, to maximize the time for candidates' questions and answers, please refrain from applause and comment until after the candidates' final statements at the end of the forum. The questions asked tonight are the product of public input. Some questions are a consolidation of multiple and similar inputs from the public. As I read, you'll understand these are not my questions, but the way they're formatted, someone wrote them. Okay, tonight's Q&A routine will be as follows. Candidates will respond to the questions within the designated time and rotation. Some questions will be for all candidates, others will be directed to one or more specific candidates. As I read the question aloud, the candidates will be provided with a written copy of the question. Depending on the question, they will have 1 to 3 minutes scheduled and announced for the individual responses. So when I read the question, I will say whether they have 1 minute, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes. At the conclusion of the Q&A period, the audience is welcome to applaud if they choose, and the audience and candidates are welcome to converse one-on-one in groups here until 8 p.m. We do have to be out by 8. As a reminder, the schedule is posted on the back door of the future forums, which right now are October 3rd, 8th, and 10th. The forum for Georgia Representative for District 180 was canceled because of Helene. That is in the works for rescheduling. Also posted are candidate contact information and online links where this information is available. So the first question tonight is for all 3 candidates. They each have 1 minute to provide an answer. Mr. Harris will be first, followed by Ms. Adamow, and then Mr. Rassi. So the question is, council members are prolific in rendering praise on city employees during council meetings, which is positive. But when deadlines are not met or something goes wrong, the council goes silent. They don't single out anyone, but they also don't accept personal accountability. If elected, would you accept personal accountability for policy decisions and failed performance of the city? Just where does the accountability to the public lie? And I will remind you that Mr. Canning has the first sign will be 30 seconds warning, and then the second sign will be you're out of time.
Can you hear me? That's a great question. And since I've put my hat into the arena, that's a question I get every day when I walk the streets or people come into my wife's in my store. Accountability is everything. I'm a retired Army officer, armor cav, been to combat, and I can tell you the only way you get people to react and do things that they normally don't like to do is you got to be truthful, and they have to know that you have their back and that you hold them accountable. It's great to say they're nice people. It's a great to say when they're doing good things, but those are the easy days, and the only easy day was yesterday. So it's hard to go in and tell somebody you were wrong or you weren't doing it right. I have no problem with doing that and holding people accountable, because if they're not accountable, then you won't trust them. And if we don't trust the government, the governmental body that's overseeing us, we're going to be complacent, and we're not really going to find our growth that we need.
I have been an executive manager in probably 6 different types of businesses. I'm outcome driven. We have a city employment group who are very skilled, but I'm not quite sure we have held outcomes as one of the key performances indicators that we look at. I think people need to know what's expected of them, and I think our managers need to understand how to manage. I think also that as on the city council, we're the executive body, and we have to assume all the accountability for anything that our city does. If our employees aren't performing, it's our responsibility to make sure they're accountable and doing their job. And if not, we have to find out why. Is it training? Is it lack of resources? Is it lack of management? Whatever's missing, we have to get in order to help them perform.
I appreciate my Christine and Nick sharing their heart. I've been on council going on 8 years, and one of the things I have found is that I have to go wherever the issues are. And in this last weekend, I was over in Chatelawn looking at sewage coming out of the roadway. And so Councilmember Connor and I went over and looked at it, and we just shared that information that we saw with Robbie Horton and Bobby Marr, trying to make sure that we're being on our A game. And you're right, it's a struggle when you don't have the staff to support those decisions.
Question 2 is for Mr. Rassi alone, and you'll understand why. As an incumbent, you are open to public criticism for votes you've taken over the last 8 years. Are there any specific decisions you regret or any subsequent actions that you made to make you think twice about your vote? Please be specific.
I can honestly tell you that there have been decisions that I have to stand by, and yeah, there are some decisions I've made that I question even to this day. And but you know what? I see the efforts that I put forth from a council member, and I own up to it. And I have no regrets on any decision I've made.
Next question is for Ms. Adamow, and you have 1 minute for this one. Your letter to the editor announcing your candidacy stated, "I'm not your typical council candidate. In my 40 years here," that was the author, not me, "I've never seen a typical candidate." What did you mean by that?
I think typical to me means average. I'm not average. I've only lived here 2 years, so I consider myself a relative newcomer. I am a woman, and I think the average council over the decades has been male. I'm a farmer's daughter. I have 4 degrees. I have worked all over the world. I'm an international businesswoman. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I don't think that's very typical. In fact, the word entrepreneur is just a new term that we've started using in the past 7 or 8 years. So there's nothing average about what I am. I'm a very creative thinker, a problem solver, a collaborator, and I'm a really great listener, and I get her done. I get things done. That, I believe, is definitely not average.
Next question is for Mr. Harris. You have 1 minute. We've read your backgrounds, but not much about what you hope to accomplish if elected. Can you share some light on that subject?
Thank you for the question. Well, I've only been here 15 months, and as a new entrepreneur down in the city, I see great potential here in St. Mary's. We just really haven't tapped in to the essence of our vision. But things that I will focus on first and foremost is the financial stability of the city. We just can't keep taxing the taxpayers, and then everybody says, well, the other thing will be focused on grant money. The only way to build economic prosperity is to bring in small businesses and have opportunities for growth in which people are going to spend their money and then come to St. Mary's. The second thing, I'm all about community engagement. First and foremost, we need town hall meetings because we're here to represent you all, and we should be listening to you all, just not hearing. So when you bring your problems to me, I can guarantee they will be put on the table and there will be good thought for that process.
Okay, question 5 goes to Ms. Adamow with 2 minutes to answer, and then Mr. Harris will get 1 minute to respond, and Mr. Rassi then 1 minute. The question is, the city has mandated responsibilities to provide police, fire, and public works functions. Then there are optional services intended to provide value to the citizens. These would include festivals, the water park, the marina, tourism endeavors, and dozens of other extras. What is the ideal balance of expenditures of tax dollars between the required functions and the add-ons? What adjustments are needed by the city?
That's a great question, actually. I believe that a city obviously has full responsibility fiscally for municipal services, and that obviously is the police, fire, and the public works. All the others I consider nice to haves. We don't make money at any of those. Those are, if we kept a P&L for each one of these items mentioned, like festivals, water parks, marina, the marina's a loser. It shouldn't be. Many of our festivals are losers. They shouldn't be. Why are they not making money? And I can't tell you what we should be expending. I can tell you if we're going to continue in these businesses, we better be making sure that they're running profitably. The city does not have experience in running for-profit businesses. What about the possibility of public-private partnerships and bringing in expertise that can take these particular possible profitable centers and working a relationship where the city can actually participate in the profits from those activities? I really believe that a municipality has a responsibility for its core activities, making sure all of us have clean water, sewers that don't have levees breaking, and definitely the fire and police forces have all the resources and personnel they need, including supporting training. We shouldn't be arguing about who gets training and going to in-services. I think we really need to look to the private sector to work with us to take some of these wonderful opportunities and commoditize them.
Mr. Harris, 1 minute.
I agree with Christina on the sense that we've got to have the infrastructure with the police, the city council, and being able to maintain our city. However, you have to look at, do we have more than we actually need for this level? You know, I go to the commission meetings, it seems like every time I go, we need a new fire truck, we need a new police car. There's multiple ways to cut that down, even by sheriff or police auxiliaries. Those other things like the water park marina, it's a fine line that you have. You've got to manage both because we need the marina, we need the water parks because we need people to come to St. Mary's. Right now, we've got all this infrastructure that you're paying for, but we have nothing for it. We make it a gateway to Cumberland Island. First and foremost, we need to make it a destination of St. Mary's. And oh, by the way, you can go to Cumberland Island for here because we want tourism and families spending money in the community. Right now, we don't have those type of things, so we pay for the infrastructure, but everybody leaves town to go spend their money.
I respect what Christine and Nick shared, and you know, Irma did us in, and we saw that, and fortunately we were able to rebuild, and the National Park Service didn't leave St. Mary's; they stayed put, and we've got incredible leadership in the National Park Service, and I see that going forward for the next several years. In regards to the waterfront, the waterfront park, or I say waterfront park, the aquatic center, we had taken a few years ago, and we had an opportunity to let PSA continue to run, but the city took it back, and we're managing it now. And we're actually managing it better than letting PSA manage it. And it's worked out very well, and Charlie has done an incredible job.
Next question is for Mr. Rassi. You have 2 minutes to reply, and then each of the other candidates will have 1 minute to respond. As a member of the Orange Hall Committee, you've been criticized for installing an outdoor kitchen rather than putting money into the necessary repairs of the building. The bigger question to some is whether repairing and refurbishing an old building should be the city's responsibility or a private nonprofit endeavor. Your thoughts, please.
I love Orange Hall, and I got Linda Williams was a previous council member that was put on to and get that vision going as far as what we can do to grow Orange Hall and do it right. We cannot put a kitchen in Orange Hall. We cannot use Orange Hall. And I'll share this tidbit with you, and I'm welcome to talk to you afterwards. Because of Hurricane Helene, I got a call Friday, and there was a married couple that was married at Orange Hall, had their daughter was getting married, and was supposed to get married at Jekyll Island. They called me up, and I called the city staff up, and we navigated that perfectly, and they were able, within 24 hours notice, to do an awesome wedding on this last Saturday at Orange Hall. And of course, they brought generators in because all of downtown St. Mary's didn't have power. And it's just facilitating that. Now, there's an architect, the same architect that's working on the design phases of the new city hall, which he's doing outstanding. We're also using him to help navigate and build Orange Hall right. We've got some issues from the standpoint of structural and all the other stuff that we've done on it. We've taken care of the foundation. Yeah, it'd be easy to bulldoze it down, but as long as I'm here, I'm going to fight for Orange Hall, whether I'm on council or not.
Ms. Adamow?
Orange Hall is a magnificent and important centerpiece of our city. But I think the question is it the city's responsibility to repair and refurbish this? And once again, I fall back to what I said. I mean, we can't be the best in everything. We have to decide who we are and what we're about. Renovating an historical building is generally not what a city does. Yet that is an important part of our city. So I would say that it's not our responsibility as a city to get in and roll our sleeves up. It is a responsibility to, again, partner and create a very profitable public-private partnership to renovate that beautiful building and allow us to participate in the beautifulness and functionality of that historic site after somebody that knows what they're doing a lot better than the city actually finishes it.
I agree. Orange Hall is here to stay. It's going to be a moneymaker for us. It's historical, and it's probably a centerpiece, if not the oldest building or one of the two oldest buildings in the city. You have to think outside the box. Long story short, I don't think it's the city's responsibility to do all the renovations. When I came back from the desert, my son didn't play Little League Challenger ball. I went to the city. Why not? The family moved on, so I jumped in the arena and I took over the Challenger baseball field. They had in their long-term plan a plot of land to put another pinwheel in. So I went to the city, says, you give me that block of land, I will build $1 million baseball complex for kids and adults with developmental disabilities, and I'll turn it back over to you just for the upkeep of the mowing of the grass. I raised $370,000, but my story, we built that thing for $1 million, and today it's the home, Fayette Field of Hope, for hundreds of kids and also national tournaments. So I saw a problem, and then I figured, how do we build this? And it cost the city nothing. And the field that we put in there had a 40-year lifetime guaranteed. So I'm one of those strategic, outside-the-box thinkers.
The next question. Okay, the next question is to Mr. Harris. Loan. Okay. Last year, you were elected to a 3-year term on Cumberland Harbor Board of Directors. You quit after serving less than a month. That action leaves some to question whether you have the temperament and commitment to serve in an elected office. Please respond.
I knew I'd get this question. I'm more than glad to do it. The reason why I quit is because the board is saturated as a good old boy network. And they made it personal with my wife and her business and attacked her. And I went to the HOA president and relayed my thing. During the interview process, I did my homework and I went back to the board, the interview committee, and I said, I don't think this is meant for me. The board interview people insisted, no, Nick, we want you. And they kept asking, are you willing to lose friends and neighbors and things like that? And my comment back to them was, it's not a question if Nick is ready for the board. Is the board ready for Nick? Because I'm going to bring integrity, hold people accountable. And I just knew by the structure of that board when I really got in, it came to volition that you weren't going to make any improvements, that it was good old boy things, doing things, and it was better for me just to step away, which I did. But I tried to do that prior to the actual election.
The next question is to Mr. Harris and Ms. Adamow, and then we'll give Mr. Rassi a chance to make comment. So each has 1 minute. You are running against an incumbent. Do you have an issue with the incumbent, or is your issue with the council as a whole? Please explain. Mr. Harris?
Another great question. When you decide to politically serve a community, you cannot make it personal. And that's the problem with politics today. Everybody starts turning it against the people. My question is, no, I have no doubt that Helen Rassi is a great member of the St. Mary's community for what he's done with the high school, his church, Kiwanis, and things of that nature. What I am saying is everything changes over a period of time. I think now, because of the amount of council people rolling off and the chance for a new mayor, it's time to bring in some fresh, new, creative, strategic thinkers that aren't emotionally attached is a neighbor or a friend, because when you start making decisions from an emotional aspect, or your neighbor or your family friend, sometimes those decisions are distorted. Again, I thank Alan for everything he's done, and it's not a personal thing. I just believe that I bring a little bit more to the table to take us to the next level.
Mr. Rassi congratulated me when I qualified. I gave him a big hug and I said, you know, this isn't personal. And he said, I know. And I said, I think after 8 years, you deserve a vacation. I said, and I have time, I have energy, and my basic skill sets as an executive and a serial entrepreneur are in strategy, corporate finance, and creative solutions. I don't like to fail. I iterate till it keeps going on until we get it right and it's complete. I build teams, and I've participated on so many boards, I can't tell you how many. I just think it would be wonderful for Mr. Rassi to have some time with his family and to enjoy life without the rigors and the calls of daily commitment in a public office.
I can't think of two better candidates to run against me. Compared to 4 years ago, that was interesting. And for all you in this room, you know that. And may the best person win. And I will stand behind you. And I had a great mentor, previous council member, who had to step down because of his wife being ill. So I'm glad I have two fantastic candidates running against me versus 4 years ago. Do I need to mention their names? No.
The next question goes to all three candidates, starting with Mr. Rassi, and then Ms. Adamow, and then Mr. Harris. Each have 1 minute. Lately, annual budgets include pay raises and new benefits for staff, regardless of performance. If elected, how will you vote on always annual pay raises?
Well, since I work for the Department of Defense, you perform, they reward you. And I think that we have every individual that works for the city of St. Mary's, merit-based, you've got to perform, period. And so I just would encourage my competitors to do the same thing, just merit-based.
I'd like to reiterate, I'm a performance-based person. One of the first initiatives that I would make sure our council coalesces around is a review of all of the job descriptions that everybody that works for our city occupy. And I would like to have each of those people set up their performance indicators. What do they expect to be able to do? And then I think we evaluate them against those performance indicators. I think that's objective. I think you do the job, you get the raise. And I think you get incentives too if you do more than what you do the job. But no carte blanche for annual raises just because it's been a year.
I think that's an easy question where all three of us agree. In my line of work, either in education or the military, it's all performance-based. You just don't get a raise because you survived another year. It's accountability. Christine and I are thinking the same thing. If elected, the first thing I want to do is see everybody's job description and make sure that we have the most qualified person to execute that job, because if we don't, we're not going anywhere. It's not about being a friend or your neighbor. It's about, do you have the skill sets to do the job, and then are you doing the job? And then I'd look at the process. Do we actually counsel our employees on a regularly basis to say, where are we? And if they're not actually meeting the standard, because sometimes I think we set the standard low so you can guarantee success once you get your promotion, we got to set a higher standard and make sure that you meet that. And we do that through performance counseling. And if you're not doing your job, then I help train you and give you the skill sets to move forward.
This question goes just to Mr. Harris. Your platform includes a vision to have town hall meetings and to create a youth recreation commission. The city already hosts quarterly town hall meetings with very little participation by the citizens. Have you ever attended one? And if so, what would you do differently? Second, the county-wide Public Service Authority is responsible for youth recreation throughout the county and each of the cities. Are you suggesting that the city assume financial responsibility for all St. Mary's youth recreation? If so, how would you finance it?
Well, let me answer the youth commission first. From where I came from, they didn't have a youth commission, and it was a bunch of volunteers. But what we did is we held annual or quarterly meetings with the families and brought them in down in Peachtree City, Fayette County, to say, what is it that you want? And then we facilitated things that we could implement for those families and make it family-friendly oriented. If we have one, I'm not familiar with it because I've seen no advertisement, because I'd probably already be sitting on that commission. The other one, hosting the quarterly town hall meetings, if we have them, I'm oblivious, and I think part of the problem here is community engagement. We don't have community dashboards, or the system that we're using to publicize those aren't getting out to everybody, because I've never had a notice of a town hall meeting. It seems like we have town hall meetings when we're doing the big events like Exit 1, but I'm a town hall guy. When I just walk in and see you on the street, I'm going to be asking you, what are we doing right, what are we going to do wrong, and how can we improve?
The next question goes to Ms. Adamow, and she'll have 1 minute, and then Mr. Harris and then Mr. Rassi will have 1 minute for their comments or rebuttal. You've expressed a personal interest in the recent flooding woes of one neighborhood. Of course, during heavy rain periods, high tides, and hurricanes, many sections of St. Mary's are flooded. Do you think the stormwater project approved by the city a few years ago is sufficient, or does more need to be done for the dozens of neighborhoods flooded frequently? If so, how would you finance such an endeavor? More taxes?
No more taxes. No more. This is an incredibly powerful question. Yes, I think the problem is that the stormwater project that was approved was just never implemented. We started looking at this problem in 2008. The study is actually a very comprehensive study with some very good recommendations. 2008, we're in 2024. Let's not talk about COVID. I mean, come on, that's a tired old excuse. We need to implement what was recommended in that study. No more taxes. There's federal money for flood relief. We need to get it. And that's part of my big beef with the city of St. Mary's. We have not brought federal and state money to help us with our main infrastructure issues, and we need to do that. We need a strong finance program that brings outside money in to supplement what we get.
No more taxes. I don't want to be spending any more money and giving it to Uncle Sam already what I deal out federally, state, and locally. I agree with Christina. We've got a plan already in place, but we've never really dusted it off, and we use COVID as an excuse. Furthermore, we attended a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, a meeting on some of the stormwater issues. And they're basic. What we've done is, because of COVID, or the reason we've cut down on our ditch maintenance crews. But in doing that, we can hire an assistant manager and maybe an assistant city planner. Well, right there, we only need a planner and a manager. They don't need assistants for the size of our city. It means you got to work a little bit longer, first in, last out. That's public policy. Those two positions probably could have funded another ditch digging crew and maintenance crew just to clean out those culverts. Because when you drive by and look at those culverts, it's just a lot of overgrown debris, grass, leaves, branches, and things of that nature. Easy fix.
Yeah, we got a problem, and but I can share with you that if we get our departments working right, mainly Public Works, to be able to address the issues and follow through. And I'll give you a quick, I'm on base every day. And we had a problem with trash 4 years ago. And we've solved that problem with trash. And the company was MDI. And so when we put it out for bid, MDI came in and gave us a good price. It's Cumberland Services now. And they also take care of all the lawn care, the ditches, everything on the base. So do I think that our employees can handle it? We can't compete with the base on pay. We can't. So MDI takes care of everything on base. If you drive on base, the property's immaculate. And even today, when I was driving around on base, it's impressive. So that's food for thought.
This next question is for Mr. Rassi. Many voters are still talking about the apparent backroom dealings with Radiant on their proposed development in St. Mary's. Even when the council was not constrained by a non-disclosure agreement, you still withheld valuable information from the public. Why did you feel justified in doing that, and can we expect more backroom deals if you are reelected?
I respect that question, and we have an attorney that we have to lean on to guide us through the process. And do I agree with everything that was done? Not generally. But in reality, they did a great job. Our attorney did, and the firm did a great job helping us and guiding us through Radiant. That's all I'm going to say.
The next question is for Ms. Adamow. Your platform suggests that the current city council and staff are less than proficient. Please identify services or functional areas that you find the council and staff perform that are less than adequate. If elected, how will you address these perceived shortcomings?
I'm not sure the word proficient would be what I would use. I would say efficient more than proficient. I think that we have a lot of well-intentioned people. I also think that we spend a fair amount of money on studies. But what I think are our shortcomings within our council and our city management is implementation. I think things just don't get done. I think that often both the council and city management are on a crisis mode. I call it LIFO management. Last problem in gets fixed first. And if things are queued, they never get done. So I think, if you elect me, I'm going to make sure that we put some efficiency, actually a lot of efficiency, in our program of work, and that we don't drop things off our agenda until they're actually completed. We tend to lose things as they go by and not necessarily finish what we started.
The next question is for all three, and seeing that we are doing well on time, and this is a pretty significant question, Tom, I'd like to go 2 minutes on this one for each of them. So this is for all three candidates, Mr. Rassi first, Mr. Harris second, and then Ms. Adamow. I'm sorry, Mr. Harris first, Ms. Adamow second, Mr. Rassi third. Looking at the wrong thing. The City of St. Mary's budgets general fund revenues for the City Senior Center, Aquatic Park, Marina, Orange Hall, and Warming Kitchen, supplements organization-sponsored festivals and events and other expenses that are not core requirements for city government. Is this an appropriate use of taxpayers' dollars?
I think there's other ways to make these entities successful. I'm all about privatization on a lot of these things. The city shouldn't be in running swimming pools, aquatic centers, a marina. We're a governing body to oversee to make sure the organizations that are doing that are living up to our expectations and our level of excellence per se. I think the majority of these items can be privatized and grow significantly. The tax base here is, I'm a zero-based tax guy. You start with zero money, and then you put all the essentials, the life things that you need every day to function as a city. Then when you have all that covered, you add the other things. There's a difference between a want and a need. I don't personally think, we have a total vision for what St. Mary's truly is. I think we're missing what we're all about historically, culturally, the waterfront, and small businesses. When you throw these other things in, those are nice things to have, but are we functioning 100% in going from good to great on the basic fundamentals of what we should spend our money on? We need to give the people, we're running the whole city of St. Mary's on tax dollars. And when I got my tax assessment the other day, I might as well be back in Atlanta, because for that $7,000, at least I could tell you what things I was paying for. When I look at $7,000 here, and I'm looking at the Blythe, I'm looking at, first responders, even during this crisis, where were the generators for the older families? Where were the water stations? I personally went out there and fed families on the side of the road. So we got to put things into perspective and get out of funding everything at your expense.
I agree with Nick. I am a firm believer in doing what you have the skills to do. You don't do well what you don't like to do or are not capable of doing. Municipality doesn't have the skill set to run senior centers, aquatic parks, marinas. We don't have those skill sets. We heard of mayoral candidates yesterday telling us we're lacking these skills. We shouldn't be running these. But there are entities, enterprises that run these well. Let's find them. Let's go out to a bidding process. Let's bring them in, and let's craft public-private partnerships. It doesn't mean we can't take a piece of the money that's made in these ventures. Of course we can. Got to negotiate that for them. We don't negotiate well. You're talking about taxes. There are 357 cities in the state of Georgia. Did you all know that St. Mary's is the 46th highest mill rate in the state? Why? That's reprehensible to me. We're only 18,700 some odd residents. Why do we have such a high mill rate? That's inexcusable. I'm not happy with my tax bill either. And I vote for cutting taxes. I know how to bring in private enterprise and partner with them. I've been doing that for 35 years, both in the United States and overseas. I have made money in public-private partnerships. I get that. I'm an entrepreneur. That's a creative solution to a problem. And we have problems. We don't make money in any of these things. And we don't do well in all of them.
I appreciate what my two council member contenders shared. I'm personally really happy with the senior center. That's been one of the greatest success stories in St. Mary's history. To see what I walked into 8 years ago and see what we have going now, we're a banner with senior services. And I'm proud of that moment. I'm proud of that. And again, if you want to talk to me afterwards about that, I'd be more than happy to share it with you. The Aquatic Center was in disarray, and we've straightened that out. Is it something that I wanted to take on as a council member? No. But we have our assistant city manager doing an awesome job managing it and running it efficiently. The marina, we got wiped out during Irma, and we had a lot of money come in to help us rebuild that from the federal government. Orange Hall, I see that as, do I see it privatizing? Yes, I'd love to see that. But we could become a wedding venue up, you know, but again, we inherited a building from that the city did because the building was in serious disarray, and now it's not. Are there things that we can improve on and make better? Yes, definitely. And I pay taxes like you guys do. I feel it. So thank you.
We are ahead of schedule, and the three candidates have agreed to do something different than we've done in any of the other forums, and that is to take questions from the floor. So if you have a question, please phrase it within about 1 minute and raise your hand and I'll acknowledge you and you can come up. We do want to use the microphone so that these get recorded for the video. So.
This is for Christina Adamow. You talk about privatizing the supplementary services that the city does, and it's going to not cause any tax increase for the citizens. But if you want to privatize them, the city has to ensure that whoever takes over is going to either make a profit, or if they don't want to make a profit, then they're going to throw it back on the city. And at the end, I think it's still going to cost the city. When you talk about privatizing the senior center, I would like to know how you would do that.
That's a wonderful question, and I'm glad you asked it because there is an example of that happening in St. Mary's right now with the nursing home. That was owned and operated by the Southeast Medical System, and obviously the headquarters is in Brunswick. And those of you that live in town probably have heard the sirens and the fire department almost 3 times a week going down to the nursing home. I happen to know because a traveling nurse who was staying with me and working there, who quit 3 weeks into that, said to me, the reason they're going down there is they don't have a quality of care standards to help people get up when they fall. So they have to call EMT. That cost you and me money. The privatization has just happened. Southeast Medical brought a private sector in.
No, please let her finish.
Let me just finish. The senior center is an activity center. There's nobody in the city of St. Mary's who currently receives employment, a paycheck, that knows how to run a senior center. The director quit. She quit for good reason. So we need to bring people in that know how to manage and know how to run ancillary services. And if we have those people in our payroll and they're not performing, then we have to figure out why and we have to help them.
Other questions?
I would direct this to all of the candidates. I'm glad, Christine, I'm glad you brought up the nursing home because it triggered my mind here. The nursing home is, when they purchased it from the city, they said that they would move the nursing home and build a new facility. That was 2004, somewhere in there. And they've not done that. And we have, through the community, done many things to work with Southeast Georgia Health System to get more visibility in there. Now they've just done something starting 1 September that changes that facility so that there's another layer of management. Pruitt Health just took over the management, which is now overseeing the nursing home. All the employees changed to Pruitt Health. What would you do to say that we need a quality nursing home facility? We had $5 million from the federal government appropriated to that, and Southeast Georgia Health System turned it down. How would you approach that new facility?
That's a wonderful question, and you got me fired up because I have a healthcare background. And I used to work for the federal government and go into those kind of facilities and evaluate them. So what really bothers me is that that early on contract for the city to take a look at that facility never got implemented, never got followed up. It kind of fell off. And then you and I are picking up the tax burden for the ancillary services to help people that are falling out of bed and can't get up. So it's cost the city a lot of money. Substandard care. What I would do, I'd dust that off and I would go back, and this is going to cost some legal advice because we are slightly out of contract there, but we need to go and sit down with Pruitt and evaluate what their plans are relative to improving the physical facility and possibly moving it out. I would support you 100% and I would lead that effort.
I agree. I mean, soon, it's time to stop trying to be the end-all, catch-all, and do-all. You know, the old motto I grew up with is be no do, but know that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And a lot of times, decisions that we're making today is everybody thinks they're the smartest person in the room. Out of my 13 years of coaching girls, no less, at high school lacrosse and winning the state championship, I know how to motivate, and I'm only going to be as good as coach as I can by the depth of the talent on my team. It's not about Nick. So when we look at some of these issues here, there's nothing wrong. There's no embarrassment to go outside and bring in that expertise to help us give that level of quality service to the taxpayers and keep our taxes down. We don't do that. We kind of think that we've got the fix for everything, and you look back 10 years later and we fixed nothing.
I like what Nick and Christine shared, and that nursing home has been a problem for a long time, and it's heartbreaking because it's supposed to be critical care, and there's structural issues, there are facility issues, there's employee issues, there's all that stuff. And I would love to take it over and manage it, but we don't have the skill set to do that. And but we need to help find the right people to run it. And I think they found it. I think with them running the hospital, we hope. So, sorry.
Now to the last question for the evening. This is going to all three candidates. They will have 3 minutes each. The first will be Mr. Rassi, followed by Mr. Harris, and then Ms. Adamow. So the question is, in your closing statement, please discuss subjects that are important to you that have not been covered by the forum questions. And why will the residents and business owners in St. Mary's be best served with you on the City Council?
Thank you for navigating us through this event. And I will share with you that 8 years ago, I did not want anything to do with the City Council. But here I am today, and I'm glad I've been on City Council for 8 years serving the citizens of St. Mary's, as well as the business owners. I take what I do very seriously, especially around my Navy job. And the Navy's behind me doing this. And my family's good with me doing it, probably not for another 4 years, but I'm doing it, and they blessed me with that. I love what I do for St. Mary's. St. Mary's is my town. I will share this with you. Because of these two quality candidates, again, not bringing up the past, whether I'm reelected or not, a year from now, I'm president of Kiwanis. Because I love serving my community. I love this city. I love doing everything I do for the city. And I'll stand behind these two if they win. And I'm fine if I lose. I never thought I'd say that. But, I'm showing some humility here because God has blessed us in St. Mary's with good people. And I just want to keep helping make St. Mary's better. Because when I moved here 22 years ago, the mill was shutting down. And we were losing a lot of jobs, losing a lot of people, and we're on the uptick now. So if I win, I praise him. If I lose, I praise him. But I love St. Mary's no matter what.
First, I want to thank you for the opportunity to address you all. As I stated earlier, I'm a 22-year retired Army officer and 13 years of coaching girls lacrosse. I truly understand the importance of teamwork in getting people motivated to do things they normally don't want to do. You're only as good as the depth of the talent on your team and the people that you surround yourself with. And that's not accusing anybody that's currently serving, is you know what you know and you don't know what you don't know. We've witnessed over the last few years a clear barrier between our governing bodies. We need to bring back collaboration, honesty, integrity, and real transparency to our city government, because there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of behind closed doors that we don't know what's going on. Everything today should be out in public's view, because we may learn a new idea. It goes back to what I said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. We can only do that by working together collaboratively to represent you. I plan to collaborate not only with my council members, the mayor, but everybody on the city staff, because we're only going to be as good as they are at doing their job. I'm a visionary leader with common sense and fiscal responsibility. The military taught me, and I learned this as a young lieutenant, I'm the first in and last out. There is no time clock. This is a part-time job, but I can guarantee you Nick will be available for you 24/7. Right before I retired, I was working 14-hour days for the military. I was the parent mentor, engaged and being paid for by the Fayette County school system, and I was out leading 3 other parents to build a $1 million baseball complex. I know how to manage my time. And it goes back to that one question that came, why did I leave? I value my time. I understand my expertise. I'm not arrogant. I'm very confident in the things that I know I can get done. And the things that I don't know, I look to my left and right, and I lean on that person because I know on my team I have that expertise. So numbers aren't my big thing, but I understand baseline budgets. But I don't need to thoroughly understand. I need to know the process. But if I have somebody like Christine or Lynn Keene on my team that's been their life, they're my go-to person. They're going to give me that X sum, and then I'm going to be able to represent you all. So it's really about collaboration and doing what's right and giving the community back a voice. We're sitting on a diamond mine down here. We just have to clean up things. We look at all these big projects to bring in, like Exit 1, like the marina downtown. Let's clean up downtown. The reason why companies don't come here and businesses don't open, because when you drive down the street and you look left and right, buildings are falling down, grass is overgrown, and it just doesn't look pleasing. Those are minimal things that we can fix right off the bat, and that's just a little bit of feeding to entice other people to come in and support you. So I hope November 5th I get your vote.
Wow. So I'd like to include in my closing comments the subjects that are most important to me. I love people, and I love St. Mary's. I've only been here 2 years, but I love it so much I opened my house on the Christmas tour, the only little mill house on that Christmas tour, and I had a sign-in sheet. 378 people went through my little house on the corner of Ann Street. 60% of those people were visitors, 40% were neighbors. So I am available and I'm open. I have owned 2 beds and breakfasts. I'm about people. I'm about making people feel good. I'm about making people happy, and I listen. I am a professional listener. I'm also an executive businesswoman by choice. I'm an entrepreneur. I have raised tens of millions of dollars in private equity. I have brought money from friends and family. I have used my own cash to support new business starts. One of the questions was, what will you do for the residents and small businesses? Well, I build small business. I've owned 4. I've tanked 2. I've made money, big money in 1, and I've started about 20. I've either invested, mentored, co-founded, or just advised, have sat on boards of directors of about 10 of those companies. So I kind of know a lot about small business development. I grew up in a little town smaller than St. Mary's, on a farm. My parents were farmers, but they were active in town politics, so I learned a lot. I understand being a neighbor and what that means. Being a farmer's daughter impressed upon me the importance of my neighbors, my land. Infrastructure is significant for me. I hate to see dead cars in yards. I hate to see ditches full of dirt. I hate to see lots of mosquito puddles all around. I also hate to hear loud noises past 10 o'clock. I can't stand the speeding on 40 through the roads. That bothers the heck out of me. There's solutions for all that. I have solutions for all that. We just have to do it. Now that means you just don't show up for a council meeting, read the packet, and participate in a council meeting, and listen to people, shake hands, you come in. It means after hours, like Nick said, you're going to get it done. And it means reaching deep into the community for extra help, because we have a lot of talent in our neighbors, a lot of talent in our community. We have retired engineers, professors, we have retired lawyers, we have lots of military. All of those retirees are looking for ways to contribute and continue to make a difference in their community. They just need to be asked and then directed. I'll do that for all of us because I'm proud to live in St. Mary's.
So I think I caught that a few of you still had questions, so I would encourage you to stay. We have the room until 8 o'clock. The candidates will be here. That'll give you a chance to ask them questions one-on-one, or please don't gang up on them. But that'll give you an opportunity to interface with them and get your own questions answered. I would like to thank the candidates for their views and answering the questions tonight. So this will conclude the formal portion of the forum. Again, we will be here until 8 o'clock if you have questions or comments for the candidates.